Let's talk now to British Army veteran Colonel Ash Alexander Cooper, who served 4 tours in Afghanistan and was a senior advisor to the Ministry of Internal Affairs there. Thanks for joining us, Ash. These are bad times for people of this country who wish to celebrate our traditions and who wish to spend this weekend thinking about their relatives, maybe their friends who lost their lives fighting for the freedoms that some of these bozos marching around for free Palestine want to kind of insult, if you like. What do you make of it all, and should they be allowed to march, do you think?
I think firstly, I'd just like to say maybe a counterpoint to your perspective so far is that what we don't really need right now is more inflammatory language. That's not helping anybody. Now, I've lost more than 70 friends and colleagues killed over my career in the 7 years I spent deployed in different parts of the world trying to keep the peace or create peace. And inflammatory language is just going to make things, well, not going to make things better, certainly. And this is all about respect at the end of the day on both sides. And we have to respect that the freedoms that I fought for, that gives these people the right, any of them to demonstrate freely and have their voice is important, absolutely fundamentally important to what makes this country great. But equally, if those who are organizing the march care about the intimidation that some people may feel, and it's not just male veterans or female veterans, it's the families, it's the young kids who may have lost parents in wars gone by, who will be intimidated potentially by large numbers who are waving flags that they don't understand or saying things that sound aggressive. So for me, fundamentally, inflammatory language won't help, and it's got to be about respect on all sides.
Yeah, but there isn't respect on all sides, though. I mean, that's kind of pie in the sky, isn't it? We've already seen these marches. We've already seen what they shout. We've already seen some of the things that have happened. Elderly veterans being attacked in Scotland, trying to sell poppies. There's no inflammatory language involved there. It's just a violent act. We've been told that some servicemen have been asked not to wear medals when they come to London for Armistice weekend. I mean, I think the idea of getting respect for everybody else is all very nice and all very well, but it's a bit unrealistic at this point, isn't it?
Well, I think it's also unrealistic to lump everybody into the same category, quite frankly. The majority of people on those marches will be doing it genuinely, I vehemently believe, because they want to see peace and they think that this is going to help, peacefully protest to raise the issue so more people understand it. But unfortunately, as we have seen and as we realistically know, there will be, and there is a hardcore of those who don't seek peace at all and have no interest in peace. Hamas is a terrorist organization. The fact that they've butchered people, in their homes, and that family, the horrendous story of the father had his eyes gouged out, the mother had her breast cut off, and the 2 children had fingers and a foot cut off before they were then killed. And the terrorists sat down and ate the breakfast that the family had prepared. And this stuff is absolutely despicable and makes me feel sick to my stomach. There are therefore that hardcore that we must absolutely stop doing what they need to do or want to do to further their cause, which is not helping anybody, and stains what ultimately I think for many of people is a peaceful march genuinely. But unfortunately, it's being hijacked, and we have to be very careful that is the thing that doesn't isn't allowed to spread.
But the problem is you can't control the minority. Now, you might say, and you might be right, that the vast majority of people just want peace. I'm not sure if that's absolutely true. Many of them are calling for a ceasefire. A majority of them are calling for a ceasefire, which Hamas have said they don't want, which Israel is not going to grant, and which wouldn't actually be any good for peace in any event, since they're still holding more than 200 people hostage, including children and elderly relatives of people who have already been killed. So, I mean, I think surely, to heavens, if you wanted to avoid conflict, if you wanted to avoid, inflammatory words and inflammatory situations, the best thing to do would be not to allow the march anywhere near central London.
Well, my advice to those who are organising the march, if they want to be seen in a different light from the language that you and your guest are using, that everybody is there and it's a hate march, etc., then they could take the initiative and say, of their own volition, that they will move the march to a different time or a different day out of respect, because they understand what it means to those who are marching on Armistice Day and this weekend. And I'll certainly be coming to London to march with my colleagues and pay respects to those that I know who either are unable to march because they're either disabled, have lost limbs, or are no longer with us. So, the responsibility really needs to go on to the organisers of the march, and for them to show respect and understand the importance of this weekend, of all weekends, and make changes and that could take the heat out of this situation immediately.
Well, that's exactly right, and it's for them to take the heat out because they put the heat in. It's not for us to take the heat out. We're simply describing how an awful lot of people feel in this country who have had weeks and weeks and weeks of these marches. Rafe, let me bring you back in. I mean, this is going to be week 5 of these pro-Palestine marches, and I think that as much as it's good to hear from Ash Alexander Cooper that we shouldn't be using inflammatory language. I don't think you and I using inflammatory language is the problem here.
No, well, look, and we're also very clear to say that obviously not everybody on those marches is actually going there with the wrong intentions. But let's be clear here. Look, I respect absolutely this gentleman's decency, but there's an element of naivety there that we have to call out. We need to wake up as a culture and a society. We're actually engaged now in a clash of values and a clash of civilizations between fundamentalist Islam and its allies and things like the BLM and so forth, and between the rest of us. And we need to be alert to that and understand that as a culture and a civilization, we need to have a robust defense of our values and our principles. And that means the police actually enforcing properly how it polices these things, not or taking a leaf out of the French and German book, for example. But we're seeing none of that in evidence today. But this is the flexing of muscle by Islamic fundamentalists. We saw it with the mass call to prayer on Whitehall. This is a demonstration, and they're daring us. Then they're being emboldened by the police's impotence because the police are petrified by political correctness and they're too scared because they don't think they're capable of handling these numbers of people. And by ignoring the calls of the police not to have a march on Armistice Day, by having these mass calls to prayer in Whitehall, these are clear acts of blatant provocation, and we need to meet it with equal strength. That's why I hope that decent British patriots go out to all of the war memorials across this country on Armistice Day to stand up to all this and show their support for our veterans and show their support for remembrance. And let's have no more of this calling of British patriots hooligans. Decent people want to go out and show their support for this country. Let them do it, and the media must not demonise them and call them hooligans.
And they've certainly been in touch with me all throughout the course of the day. Colonel Ash, final word from you. If you were able to give a message to the organisers, what would it be?
Just think about the timing and the location, and if there's anything you can do to reduce the stress, the heat, and the issue that is being raised, that it's going to cause problems for those who want to march peacefully on both sides, then please consider changing the location and the time, or even the day, and this problem will go away.
Yeah, I think that's very sensible. Colonel Ash Alexander Cooper, thank you very much indeed. Rafe, you're going to stay with me. We've got more to talk about because, of course, we're not just talking tonight about this march and about Armistice weekend. It's a very important story.